Beyond the west coast of continental United States, there is an area that encompasses some 85 million square miles. It reaches from the Aleutian Islands in the north to the region of the South Pole. It stretches past the island state of Hawaii, across the Pacific to Guam and the Philippines. It continues over the South China Sea, beyond Vietnam and Southeast Asia, to the Indian Ocean. From the northern reaches along the coast of Asia, it extends southward past Japan, past Okinawa and Taiwan, to Australia and New Zealand. On a map, it can be seen that those 85 million square miles cover about 40% of the Earth's surface and includes 2/3 of the world's population. This is the area of the Pacific Command, the largest of 7 U.S. unified military commands. President Eisenhower said it. Separate ground, sea, and air warfare is gone forever. If ever again we should be involved in war, we will fight it in all elements, with all services, as one single concentrated effort. Peacetime preparatory and organizational activity must conform to this fact. Strategic and tactical planning must be completely unified. Combat forces organized into unified commands, each equipped with the most efficient weapon systems that science can develop, singly led and prepared to fight as one, regardless of service. The Unified Pacific Command is composed of some 1 million men, thousands of aircraft, and hundreds of ships under the direct operational command of the Commander-in-Chief Pacific, CINCPAC in military parlance. Over 1,100 military personnel, more than half of them senior officers from all services, are assigned to CINCPAC headquarters. The Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps commands in Hawaii back up that joint staff in directing operations throughout those 85 million square miles.
The mission of the Commander-in-Chief Pacific is to defend the United States against attack through the Pacific Ocean area and to support U.S. national policies and interests throughout the Pacific, the Far East, and Southeast Asian areas. The overall mission includes the providing of military assistance to the countries of Asia to help them protect themselves from external aggression and internal subversion. A current top priority task is the conduct of combat operations in Southeast Asia. In fulfilling his mission, CINCPAC reports directly to the Joint Chiefs of Staff in keeping with the Department of Defense Reorganization Act passed by the Congress in 1958. CINCPAC exercises command of assigned Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps forces through his service component commanders. He also has subordinate unified commanders in Vietnam, Thailand, Japan, Korea, the Republic of China. Also reporting directly are 5 U.S. military assistance and advisory groups. CINCPAC is the U.S. military advisor to the Southeast Asia Treaty Organization Council. Mutual defense treaties exist with the Republic of China, Philippines, Japan, the Republic of Korea, Australia, and New Zealand. CINCPAC takes an active role in each of them. By treaty agreements, Pacific Command forces assist the countries of Asia in countering the total threat of communist aggression throughout the area. Because of the many international aspects of his responsibilities, CINCPAC and our diplomatic missions in the Pacific area are in constant touch.
The magnitude of Commander-in-Chief Pacific's responsibilities are perhaps matched only by the importance of his mission to our national security. Within the time span of our easy memory, The concept of conquest has spread across the Pacific. It has been neutralized at the cost of immeasurable national and individual sacrifice. It is only reasonable and logical that similar concepts should not be allowed to threaten Pacific security. CINCPAC must manage his resources to best advantage, not only in areas of direct confrontation, but to fulfill his mission, he must maintain the mobility of his unified forces to meet any contingency that might arise anywhere in the Pacific. CINCPAC headquarters are at Camp Smith in Honolulu. Also at Camp Smith are headquarters, Fleet Marine Force, Pacific. Close is the home port of the Pacific Fleet, Pearl Harbor, with its memorial to the men of the Arizona. A few miles away, the Pacific Air Forces are headquartered at Hickam Air Force Base. The headquarters building still shows the holes made by attacking aircraft in December '41. They have not been repaired, nor will they be repaired. They shall remain as silent reminders of the attack. Nearby, the U.S. Army Pacific has headquarters at historic Fort Shafter. The Army Pacific, the Pacific Air Forces, the Pacific Fleet and Marine Forces are the components of the Unified Pacific Command. In fulfilling his vital mission, the Commander-in-Chief Pacific has a lot of sea to cover, a lot of airspace, a lot of ground. From Hawaii, it is about 3,300 nautical miles to our island outpost, Guam. Based on Guam, B-52 bombers under the control of the Strategic Air Command in Omaha, Nebraska, are vital to our national deterrent strength. The Pacific Command's nuclear deterrent punch is another vital factor in the confrontation of pro- and anti-U.S. alliances and groupings. CINCPAC deploys a fleet of nuclear submarines whose capabilities of range and firepower are known and respected throughout the world. But there are other submarines that can come hidden beneath the water, down from the north. Pacific Fleet anti-submarine warfare teams are on the move. Destroyers with sophisticated underwater sound detection equipment cruise the surface of the sea. Above the surface, helicopters carry sophisticated sonar gear. Higher still, carrier-based aircraft fly across the open sea, ready to detect and, if necessary, to attack. And beneath the water are anti-submarine subs with their deadly hunt and destroy missiles fired from below. Into the air to enter the deep again, on target. The sea has been kept free, but all lands are not free. And in a world where time and distance have lost their meaning, the mutual defense arrangements with our free world allies in the Asian areas are essential. Wherever elements of the Pacific Command are based on friendly soil, they are there as welcome guests. They are there to help and to be helped. The phrase, working together, can be spoken 100 times or written 1,000 times, but civic action and cooperation speak louder than any words. In the Philippines, Clark Air Force Base is strategically located within easy flying range of Korea, Japan, and Vietnam. The Pacific Fleet Base at Subic Bay is not too large as bases go, even though it is strategically located. But today's modern fleet does not have to rely only on land-block strongholds. Underway replenishment keeps the ships where they should be, at sea. Development of these techniques means not only fewer trips to port, but assures the high-speed naval mobility that plays such an important role in the overall effectiveness of CINCPAC's unified forces. These naval ships are always ready to show the flag in friendly harbors as evidence of a naval power that assures peaceful use of the high seas for small nations as well as large. The mobile strength of CINCPAC forces is poised to respond if and whenever it is needed, anywhere it is needed, in any mix of power. Ships at sea or carrier aircraft ready on arrival. Marines ready to land. Army forces and air power. A military theater in the Pacific can be as small and as important as a strip 150 miles long. The DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone that separates South Korea from North Korea. That 150-mile armistice line is permanently manned by troops of the U.S. 8th Army and troops of the Republic of Korea. This force is a capable deterrent against overt communist aggression that might be attempted from the north. Americans have always been good soldiers. They have initiative, ingenuity, courage. But Americans by inclination as well as heritage have always been builders, not destroyers. Case in point, the city of Seoul, the capital of the Republic of South Korea. The contrast between here and North Korea is as evident as the difference between West Berlin and the eastern sector. What has been done has been accomplished by a mutual U.S.-Korean effort. It is true that there are many things that men can build, but men can also build in many ways.
We want to show you how to play volleyball. So you take it in your hand like this, okay? When you do, then you hit it to him, and he hits it back, okay? Okay, you try now. Go on. There you go. That's a good girl. There you go. Okay, we try another girl now. Okay, come here. Come here. Okay, now you try. You hit it there. There you go. Whoa! Okay, let's try one more time. Then we're going to play the game, huh? One more time.
The fact that Koreans have always been an agricultural people highlights the importance of land reclamation projects. Again, by mutual effort, thousands of acres of mudflats have been reclaimed. Pacific Command forces provided engineering supervision and heavy equipment. South Koreans, the labor. Distribution of the agricultural products to population centers requires modern roads and bridges, a task that is being accomplished by people working together. It isn't always easy for people of different cultures and traditions to work together.
Sir? Morning. Morning. How's everything going? Pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
When are you going to pour the top slab now?
I think so. We're going to put in river steel Thursday. After we finish Thursday river steel,
Yeah.
we're going to start Friday from 8 o'clock until 5 o'clock.
You get it done by 5 o'clock?
Yes.
We don't have any problems. So I can report back that everything's going along just fine.
Working together takes goodwill and understanding. It's as simple as that, or as complicated. But normal continuing growth and progress depend on the security and stability of that 150-mile-long armistice line. There have been communist probings and provocations to test the will and determination not only of our allied forces, but also of our people at home. That's nothing new and can be considered par for the course on which some people play their game of power politics. From the mainland, it is only a relatively few miles across the Straits of Korea to the coast of Japan. The Tachikawa Air Force Base is home plate for providing combat cargo airlift to Korea and throughout Southeast Asia. The Army Depot at Sagami has a basic logistic function in support of the military assistance programs for Japan, Korea, Republic of China, the Philippines, Federation of Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, and Burma. At Yokosuka, Pacific Fleet maintains an important logistic and supply base in support of operations throughout the Far East. On the island of Okinawa, Naha is one of the busier ports in the Pacific. Unified forces provide logistic backup for Vietnam and Thailand. In Thailand are bases for fighter bombers of the Pacific Air Forces. Somebody's father, somebody's son, somebody's brother, somebody's husband. Familiar faces in places with unfamiliar names. Tak Lee, Udorn, Uban, Kurat, Kabanburi. And in Thailand, there are other Thai-U.S. facilities. A deep water port has been built at Sattahip on the Sea of Siam, southeast of Bangkok. Just inland from the port, B-52s of the Strategic Air Command are based at Utapao. An extension road from Kabanburi to Kurat bypasses Bangkok. This road traverses very difficult terrain and is a joint Thai-U.S. effort. In some parts of the world, Americans are criticized for being a little loud, and sometimes more than a little boastful. Maybe, but they do get along with their friends, and they build. Sometimes in order to build, it is necessary to fight, to make it possible for a young nation to begin its experiment with democracy without staring down the barrel of an aggressor's gun. It is true that the Vietnam War is a different kind of war. We are not trying to destroy our enemy. We are fighting to persuade them to withdraw from South Vietnam and leave it alone. The greatest proportion of forces assigned by the Joint Chiefs of Staff to the Commander-in-Chief Pacific are in Vietnam. The Military Assistance Command, Vietnam, is one of CINCPAC's subordinate unified commands. The U.S. commander in Vietnam, with policy direction from CINCPAC, has operational control of all Navy, Marine, Army, and Air Force resources assigned to him. And they fight as one. Back up the men in the field, to keep them fully supplied, requires logistic support as large as it is successful. Some 260 ships are controlled by or under contract to the Military Sea Transportation Service. Ports had to be built where none existed. Ports located as close as possible to the scene of action. On a typical day, 55 ships are in Vietnam. 30 are being loaded at U.S. ports, and 150 are underway. Another 25 ships work in and between other Pacific Command facilities. In addition, Airlift by the Military Airlift Command delivers per day about 1,600,000 pounds of high priority cargo. That does not include another 150,000 pounds of letters from home mail. The efforts of the unified forces are matched perhaps only by the total logistic effort that supports them. To counter reinforcement of the enemy by infiltration of men, arms, and supplies by sea from the north, coastal patrols are maintained around the clock. Operation Market Time, it's called. Ships of the Navy and Coast Guard help the Vietnamese Navy cut what was once a steady flow down to a miniature trickle. To help counter infiltration, saltwater sailors navigate fresh water. Joint Army-Navy Mobile Riverine Force operates in 4,000 square miles of mangrove swamp south of Saigon and in the Mekong Delta. Flagship and command post for riverine forces is a self-propelled auxiliary barracks ship. The boats themselves are operated by Navy personnel and carry Army fighting men. Riverine boats also carry Navy SEALs, experts in counterinsurgency and unconventional warfare techniques. Men on the river, men in jungles, men in swamps, men in open country. And other men in SAC B-52s fly from their bases to support the men on the ground with strikes against concentrations of enemy supplies and troops. Yes, support the men on the ground. That also was the purpose of the war above the 17th parallel in North Vietnam. Strikes against fuel depots and against convoys of trucks carrying reinforcements of men and supplies down the Ho Chi Minh Trail to South Vietnam. Planes from the decks of Pacific Fleet carriers in the South China Sea. Planes from the surface of the land, fighter bombers of the Pacific Air Forces. In South Vietnam, the war has been a defensive war against invading forces. The strikes in the north were strategic. They were aimed against military targets and not aimed at the destruction of cities, towns, or villages. Under CINCPAC's operational command, air operations conducted against North Vietnam demonstrated continued aggression to be increasingly costly to the communists. To achieve this mission, three basic tasks were required. One, to reduce, disrupt, and harass external assistance provided North Vietnam. Two, to disrupt and destroy those resources in North Vietnam that contribute to the support of aggression. Three, harass, disrupt, and impede the movement of men and materiel southward. Every bullet, every gallon of oil, every mortar stopped north of the 17th parallel may well have meant the lives of 100 men, 1,000 men, south of the 17th. Yes, support the men on the ground. Because in the total unified effort, they, as they always have been, are the spearhead. They take the ground, defend it, make it secure. Take the ground and defend it. A simple statement. But to the Army troops and the Marines, often a complex, always a dangerous task, particularly in Vietnam where there are no front lines. Yet the free world fighting forces are defeating the enemy. Many thousands of men of the Army of the Republic of Vietnam are in training to augment the thousands already in action. Men with the courage and the will to pick up the challenge of the invading enemy. And beyond the battlefield, the free world forces are also defeating the enemy among the Vietnamese people through building, through medicine, through teaching, through understanding. Vietnam has been the center of action, the center of attention. But it is only a relatively small area in operations that cover 85 million square miles of the Earth's surface. To defend the United States against attack through the Pacific Ocean and to support U.S. national policies and interests throughout the Pacific, Far East, and Southeast Asian area is a mission carrying great responsibility. It is not an easy mission. No one expects it to be. But it is being done by many men in many different places. Men on boats, men in planes, men walking on the ground, using a wrench, a rifle, a rope. Men working with their hands, their minds, their hearts. Pacific Command's mission is being carried out. It will continue to be carried out in the interest of the U.S. and our allies. That means in the interest of every American in each of our 50 sovereign states.